are a perfect backdrop for the next rounds of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, one of the IMSA development series. Watkins Glen International, 11 corners, 3.4 miles, and with names, not just numbers, for the corners that have been there for a very, very long time. Action areas down the hill to the first corner, the braking area at the inner loop, and then the heel of the boot at turn number 8. Down through the years, it has challenged drivers from Formula One and IndyCar, open wheel series of the highest order, through stock cars and, of course, through the Endurance and GT Championships. It has a unique place in American motorsport history, and it's a fabulous place to be. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh, and Jeremy Shaw is alongside me for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series here at Watkins Glen, and it's live next on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Jeremy, great looking field of cars down below us with tails into the wall. We've got a couple of minutes before, we've got 4 minutes in fact, before the call to fire up the engines. Tell me a little bit about the championship so far this season, and we'll do a grid rundown as the cars are rolling after we've had drivers start your engines. The car is the same, the drivers are different. We've got different classes: Pro-Am, Pro, Am and LB Cup. That is all about the experience of the drivers and how they stand. And in championship terms, Jeremy, it's been an interesting start to the season.
Yeah, we just had the one race meeting prior to this weekend at Watkins Glen. We had 2 races at Mid-Ohio a couple of months ago now, so it's been a sort of kind of leisurely start to the season for these cars and teams and drivers. But 2 very exciting races they were, both at Mid-Ohio, with the new Super Trofeo Evo Lamborghini Huracan this season. Corey Lewis and Madison Snow ended up winning both races for Change Racing. They lead the championship overall, the pro driver category, by 6 points over Brandon Godovic and Shinya Michimi in pro, 6 points behind, finishing second in the category at Mid-Ohio in both races. In Pro-Am, Dylan Murcott and Patrick Liddy shared the number 27 car to one of the wins at Mid-Ohio. Loris Spinelli and JC Perez won the other race, just 1 point in between those pairings coming into here. However, Dylan Murcott will not be driving number 47 PPM car alongside Patrick Liddy. Instead, it will be Pippa Mann making her seasonal debut this weekend in that number 47 car. And Loris Spinelli will start on the pole today, so he's in great position not only to get some more points in Pro-Am, but maybe even win the race overall, along with JC Perez. In Am, coming into this weekend again, the wins were shared at Mid-Ohio. Damon Oki won the first race for US Racetronics. Ryan Hardwick finished second last year in LB Cup behind JC Perez, their first year drivers, both of those 2 last year. Ryan Hardwick won the second race. Those 2, then Damon Oki and Ryan Hardwick, separated by just 4 points coming into this weekend. And in LB Cup, effectively for first year drivers, Max Proto and Paris Mullins won both of the races at Mid-Ohio. They should have some more stiffer competition this weekend. However, there was just one other driver, Sheena Monk, flying the LB Cup flag at Mid-Ohio, but there's a couple more drivers joining the fray this weekend. Justin Price in number 21 car for Dream Racing Motorsport, and Brett Meredith making a very stout debut in qualifying as well for GMG Racing in car number 66.
So that's how they stand after Mid-Ohio. Similar sort of field to the circuit, natural terrain road circuit. This is natural habitat for the big 5.2 V10 engined cars. They look and sound exceptional at ground level. They are so loud. Up here, they're still pretty loud, and they are pulling amazing speeds through the speed traps, getting on for a 170?
Yeah, over 170, 173 miles an hour. I think they were in the practice session or in qualifying session this morning. It's really, really fast. That
makes them only being beaten by the prototypes in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Just think about that for a moment in terms of straight line speed. Their lap time's not too shoddy either, and Jeremy will run down the full grid for you of the 16 cars just as soon as we fired up all of those cylinders. 10 cylinders for each car, 16 cars on the grid, normally aspirated, and it's now my pleasure to say, drivers, start those V10 engines. And Jeremy Shaw has the rundown of the grid for the third round of the 2018 Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series here at Watkins Glen.
16 cars, 4 categories of driver, not car. Everybody running the same Lamborghini Super Trofeo Evo car. New body kits and a little bit more horsepower if they needed it for this season. We've got the Pro cars, we've got Pro-Am, we've got AMs, and we've got LB Cup. Let's run down the starting order, then starting from the back. On the 8th row on the outside, car number 67 for PPM will be started by Shea Holbrook. Did not set a qualifying time this morning, had some problems, so we'll start at the back. Alongside her will be Justin Price making his debut for Dream Racing Motorsport. That's the LB Cup entry, car number 21. Row 7, the AM contender Cameron Castles for Wayne Taylor Racing in car number 33. And also for Wayne Taylor Racing, an LB Cup contender is Gina Monk in car number 7. Row 6 of the grid, Paris Mullins will start number 88 US Racetronics entry, also in LB Cup, and the pole sitter in LB Cup starts directly ahead of him on the grid. That will be Brett Meredith for GMG in car number 66. 2 AM cars on row 5. Damon Oakey for US Racetronics in car number 09, and Ryan Hardwick for Dream Racing Motorsport in car number 2. 8th position on the grid, well, that's the AM class pole sitter for US Racetronics in car number 17, Brian Thienes. 2 Pro-Am cars in the 7th and 6th positions on the grid. Patrick Liddy in car number 47 for PPM, and Alex Popov making his return for Wayne Taylor Racing in car number 10. 5th on the grid is Corey Lewis, former series champion for Change Racing and the championship leader in car number 29. Moving on to the 2nd row of the grid, the Pro car of Eduardo Episcopo for US Racetronics in car number 50, and Brandon Godovic in car number 46 for PPM. Onto the front row of the grid, well, we've got the fastest of the Pro cars, that's Wayne Taylor Racing's car number 1 for the defending series champion Trent Hinman, but quickest of all in the Pro-Am category, driving alongside JC Perez on the pole position for P1 Motorsports in car number 71 from Italy is Loris Spinelli. That's our 16 car lineup for today's 3rd round of the IMSA Lamborghini Super Trofeo.
Got to say, Jeremy, the Spinelli car, the Spinelli 71 car looked very, very good indeed in the qualifying sessions, but with talent of the calibre of Trent Hinman and Brandon Godovic behind you, Eduardo, the Spinelli car is going to have to do a very good opening stint, but I think they can. We've got a pit stop, of course, mandatory pit stop, and we won't see any rushing in the pit stop here.
No, it'll be somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes into this 50-minute race. So around about the halfway point in the race, and there's a mandatory minimum pit stop time. It's 90 seconds for most of the cars. The 3-second differential, however, between the cars that have 2 drivers and the one that have singleton drivers. In the 2 top, the most experienced driver classes, they have to run 2 drivers this year. It's new for this year, the Pro and Pro-Am. Their stop will be 3 seconds longer than the single driver cars. The reason for that, well, the driver who's staying at the wheel of the car, he knows how the car's handling, he's got the tyres up to temperature already, he doesn't have to acclimate at all. If you're hopping into the car, you've got to learn how the car is, and that's taken as a 3-second differential. That is how the pit stops will be determined halfway through the race, but now they're lined up absolutely beautifully for the rolling start.
The lights are out on the Huracan safety car, which is already in the pit lane. The green flag is in the air, and we're racing at Watkins Glen. A great start from row 3 down the inside. Look at the black and pink car coming through into 2nd position. That's an awesome start there, but might not be able to hold onto it. The leader is gone, by the way. Spinelli's had a cracking start already up the S's and has nobody near him. That's exactly what he wanted. Fight behind me, I don't mind, I'm gone.
Yeah, a little bit of jiggery-pokery there by the pole sitter coming out of the final corner. He kind of slowed down a little bit, then jumped on the throttle. You're not supposed to do that, but that's what he did. He got a big jump over Trent Hinman. I mean, Trent Hinman's got a lot of experience, a lot of different cars. He doesn't not normally get caught out by anything. So a little bit pushing the boundaries there was Loris Spinelli, but it was a brilliant start, and he's off to the races, out in front of the field. He's got a goodly lead already over the pursuing pack of cars.
Exactly what you want if you are the pole sitting driver. Get out in front, get away from the rest of the battles that could potentially cause you problems. What you don't want is somebody trying to dive down the inside into the first corner. So Spinelli leads out, and by what, 10 cars lengths, maybe even a little bit more. Hinman, Godovic was the man who was trying to make the move early on, and he has got himself into third position. It looked like it might have been better, but Hinman toughing it out round the outside earlier on. That was a good start, and you know, you've got the opportunity to start to make up positions. I thought that was good opportunist by Brandon, but fair driving by both of those guys give each other racing room.
Yeah, absolutely there, and Trent Hinman, he just braved it around the outside of turn when he knew he'd got the jump on.
Stayed
there.
On the track,
Brandon Godovic just sort of tucked in right behind the pole sitter, able to get the initial jump, but it is Spinelli who leads, and Trent Hinman back up into second place, and Brandon Godovic running in third in that PPM car number 46.
Early running then in this first race of two of the weekend, in beautiful evening light here at Watkins Glen International. Spinelli leads and is the best of the pros. Hinman is the best of the pros at the moment. Then it's Godovic, Piscopo, Lewis. As quick as we can say them, they've gone through. This is a long race, 50 minutes. We're on the clock when the green flag was thrown. So this is going to be about saving the car, and very importantly, looking after the Pirelli tyres.
Yes, it's hot out there, and the teams have been told what sort of pressures, tyre pressures and cambers are supposed to be running on these cars. They don't want to exceed those boundaries that have been laid down by Pirelli, because we've seen some tyre issues in the past, but Pirelli knows these tyres very well, and they've instructed the teams exactly how they expect these tyres to be looked after, let's say.
Yeah.
Oops.
They will perform right through the 50 minutes, no doubt. We've seen that in the past, and we've seen some drivers setting exceptionally quick times in the last few minutes of races. But any tyre abused will lose performance. And the tyre companies, either in single tyre competition like we have here, or mixed tyre competition in other forms of motor racing, what Jeremy's talking about there is they set out a set of operating parameters, which includes the tyre pressure at the start of the race, cold tyre pressures, the camber angles of the car, that's how much lean you are putting into the tyres to help the handling of the cars. 46 minutes to go. And that is based on the knowledge of the tyre company and lots of testing. In some series they are mandated at that. In others they are optional or advisory, shall we say. But if you go outside of them, you do so at your own risk, and then you can't have any complaints if there are any issues with the performance of your car.
No, you've got to look after the curbs here as well. We've seen some
very
problems
much
here
so
in the past when abusing the curbs is also not recommended by Pirelli. So most of the drivers, you'll see them steering clear of the curbs as much as they possibly can. The fastest lap last time around, however, was by the second place car, Trent Hinman, turned 147.2, fractionally quicker than Loris Spinelli, whose lead now 2.2 seconds from first to second, and a little bit more of that, more of a gap back to Eduardo Piscopo, who found a way past Brandon Godovic on that last lap.
They sound great as well around the Watkins Glen countryside. Spinelli's cleared off to the tune of over 2 seconds now. Hinman has got 2.7 on Piscopo, and Godovic is another second further back. It's Corey Lewis, the man who is pressurising at the moment in the number 29 at the back of Brandon Godovic, the mostly white Huracan, and he's got Alex Popow right behind him, and he's dragging them towards the black and pink car that's just crossed the start-finish line, heading down towards the first corner. Those three cars will soon be in a battle for 4th, 5th and 6th position. And this is all about what you've got left at the end. Like a heavyweight boxing match at the moment. There's a bit of sparring going on. Some of these cars throughout the race will be changing to a second driver. Others will come and do their pit stop, take a breather, maybe take some fluids, and then go back out into the race. 6 minutes down. Fastest lap last time around for Spinelli in the 71, a 1:46.8. That is very good pace early on here, Jeremy.
It certainly is. The lap record run here set last year during a race by Austin Verstegen of 46.475, and an average speed, by the way, of almost 115 miles an hour.
Yes, and what's the trap speeds again? Oh, we haven't got trap speeds on the screen here. Yes, we have 171, 172 last time around for Corey Lewis as he's trying to gain. He's just put 2 Pirellis off on the dirt as well as he heads out of turn 7 and now into turn 8, coming back towards us.
We talked about keeping off the curbs. We didn't say anything about keeping off the grass, did we?
Yes.
Good battles a little bit further back though in the Pro-Am class. Alex Popow running second in Pro-Am class because the leader Loris Spinelli is in Pro-Am. In Am, Brian Thiener's making full use of that pole position to hold the advantage in Am in 8th position overall over number 2 of Ryan Hardwick and number 09 of Damon Oakey, who are absolutely tied together.
Heat of the afternoon, of the central part of the day, is just abating a little bit. We were well up over 80 degrees in the air earlier on, and track temperatures getting up towards 120 Fahrenheit. That beginning to cool off just a little bit. The track temperature probably has stayed pretty warm, and that will be putting even more strain on the drivers. Track temperatures dropped down to 108 degrees Fahrenheit. The air temperature, though, still up at 81 degrees. What's happened is the wind has dropped. There was a nice cooling breeze earlier on for those sitting trackside, and that has all but disappeared now. Already our first track limits at turn 8 warning, and that is for Trent Hinman. Now he'll have to be a little bit careful here. The Prestige sponsored car, the number 1, the dark coloured car, in second place. He's trying to chase down Spinelli, who leads down to 2.3 seconds the lead, but must keep the car within the white lines. Piscopo on his own in the blue and black number 50 car in 3rd position. Eduardo with 2.3 seconds of a gap between Brandon Godovic, who is next up in 4th position. Brandon's just been able to stay ahead of the Lamborghini Charlotte supported Corey Lewis, who's got Alex Popow for company, and I think they're slowing each other down just a tiny bit. Well, I say that. It doesn't help Corey and Alex's cause that Brandon and Eduardo ahead of him. They've just done their 2 fastest laps, and the race very close to the wall from Corey Lewis as he comes out of the final corner. And now he's got a bit of breathing space, and the moment that he gets a bit of breathing space from Alex Popow in the darker number 10 car, he is able to concentrate his mind forward, and he starts to close in on Brandon Godovic in 4th position. 2nd, 3rd and 4th overall, all Pro Class cars. The leader at Pro-Am, the best of the Am's Brian Thienis in 8th position in the number 17, who's got 2 seconds on Ryan Hardwick, and Damien Oakey down in 3rd. Track limits warning last time around for Alex Popow in the 10 car at turn 10. It's the next to last corner. These cars giving a little bit of an update at the end of the season last year. We saw the new body kit and aero at the Laguna Seca Circuit IMSA event last year. A little bit more downforce, changing the air intake on the top of the engine box, which is liberated a few extra horses from the 5.2 V10 because they were bereft frankly, at only 620 in the past. Car's certainly just a little bit quicker this year, but taking a little more speed through the corners as well with a little bit extra downforce. That new fin on the back as well.
Yeah, striking machines,
they aren't they?
It's a good close look at the number 17 car. That's Brian Athena's leading the way in Am by just about a couple of seconds over Ryan Hardwick and Damon Oakey.
Ryan Hardwick has what I still think of the Leighton House coloured car from the front end. It's that Miami blue colour. Going back in sports car and Formula One history, it looks fantastic, that light bluey green, just coming onto the front straight now, and then behind Hardwick is Damon Oakey in the blue and yellow striped car. They're down into turn 1 now. Spinelli by almost 3 seconds, just eking out a 10th here, a couple of tenths there. Hindman at the moment has no answer, and it's not very often that we say that, but I will say now, do not count out that number 1 car. Trent Hindman is a very cool and calculating driver, and he may just be holding his pace where he needs it to be at the moment in order to either A, have a bit of a spurt before he comes into the pits, B, have a bit of a spurt when the number 71 comes into the pits, and certainly C, hand over a good car to his teammates.
Well, and that's the key here, because they're racing for the overall win here. They want the overall win, but they are leading the pro category right now. That's Trent Hindman. He was the overall champion and pro champion last season with Riccardo Agostini, but this season with Jonathan Cicotto, another youngster, just 17 years of age, who will be taking over that car from Trent Hindman. Loris Spinelli will be handing over to JC Perez, who last year was an LB Cup contender. He won the LB Cup class last season. That was his first ever season of racing. So JC Perez is fast, but he's going to struggle to maintain the pace, I think, of the youngster Jonathan Cicotto. So if Trent Hindman could just keep that car in contention, have a good pit stop, he should be looking good for his teammates, perhaps to come away with a win in the second half of the race. Plus, you've got to look after your tyres. We've already talked about it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to take too much out of the car in the early stages of the race.
Yeah, got to give the closer something to close with.
There you go.
Make sure he's still got some ammunition. 37 minutes to go. It's 3.5 seconds. Spinelli in that very, very striking green and black car with the red eyes around the headlights of the 71 Lamborghini Huracan. I'm old enough to remember the days when most cars in single manufacturer series were in whatever colour they came in. So if they were delivered in white, they were pretty much white. They may have a few sponsor stickers on. The art of the wrap and aero paint has changed all that for the better. Very much so.
Yeah, certainly has. The cars look stunning, don't they? It's a good mix of cars. There was a time in this season where all the cars pretty much seem to be black, actually. Only, well, really much last year, actually. There's a bit more colour, I think, on the cars now. Even the Prestige Performance cars, the Wayne Taylor Racing entries, they were all the same, black and
flat
blue.
Black, yeah.
And you can see these two cars here, they're black and blue. They're not teammates, these two. That's the PPM car behind. PPM, by the way, we've got Prestige Performance running with Wayne Taylor Racing, PPM effectively, and then we've got PPM, which is Precision. Wait a minute. Yeah, Precision Performance Engine, not Prestige Performance,
yes.
in the Wayne Taylor cars. It's a bit complicated, that, for me now. It was nice and easy before.
Yes, we are simple creatures here in the IMSA radio booth. Pit stops will come between 20 and 30 minutes into the race. No fuel will be added.
5 minutes from now.
Yes, my point exactly, Jeremy.
So 3 more laps probably. The pit window will be open.
And we've certainly seen that these races won and lost in the past, Jeremy, in how the teams have decided to manage manage the assets that they have with the drivers in the car. Do you pit early and get it over and done with, and then give the second driver a chance to get himself settled in and really charge and charge and charge? Do you leave the man who's fast in at the moment till the very last moment, hopefully gets a little bit of clear track as other people pull in? That's the decisions that will be being talked about now on the pit wall. as the leader goes through and completes another lap. He's already halfway around his 9th lap, heading up towards the heel of the boot, braking hard and turning right-handed. It's a bit more downhill than it looks on the track map there. Oh, that's track limits there for the leader.
Yeah, and
He'll get a warning for that.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't go any quicker on this sector than he has in the past, he'll get away with it. But you don't want to be doing that too often. We heard earlier on, you know, that we know that the drivers have been told by the series officials, well, from Lamborghini and particularly from Pirelli, not to overstress these tyres.
Warm weather conditions, still the track temperature well over 100 degrees. It was around about 110, struck to 108 degrees Fahrenheit since the start of the race, but still putting extreme stresses and strains. Spinelli then holding that 3.4 second lead to Hinman, who's pulled out just the tiniest of bits. He's now 4.2 seconds ahead of Eduardo Piscopo in 3rd position in the 50. Piscopo himself has 5 seconds on Godovic, who was being pressured a little while ago. The 46 car had the white number 29 of Corey Lewis right behind him, but now that's out to 2.3 seconds, and traffic beginning to play its part for the leader as the 21 LB Cup runner goes a lap down.
It's Justin Price making his debut in the championship this weekend.
Lovely weekend to do it.
Yeah, certainly is.
He'll be getting up to speed, literally and metaphorically, in these cars. That is a big hunk of exciting, fast racing car. And just getting the confidence to put your foot all the way down to the floor, I think, would take me more than a race weekend.
It's a good little battle going on a little bit further down the field. Cameron Castle's the car number 33, running in the 13th position. Right behind him is Shea Holbrook, who didn't get any time in the car in qualifying this morning, had a problem with that car, so she had to start at the back. She'd made up a couple of positions, and last lap wasn't quite as quick as her previous bet. It was the best lap for Cameron Castles, 1 minute 50.2, and that's a good bit better than qualified. They qualified with a 1 minute 54.5, so he's found 4 seconds as Cameron Castles in that number 33 car since qualifying this morning.
Coming round to complete another lap. It'll be 10 in the book now for Spinelli. Hinman goes through 3.2 seconds, so another couple of tenths just shaved off the lead in the last couple of laps. Then Piscopo in that number 50, very distinctive coloured car. Had flat dark blue and dark grey Lamborghini Huracan. Godovic, his fastest lap of the race, in 4th position, closes into 3.5 seconds away from the 3rd place driver ahead of him. Good lap for Corey Lewis too, not quite his fastest lap of the race, but not far away from it. Barely a tenth, half a tenth away in fact from his fastest lap of the race, and now 2.8 seconds behind Godovic in 4th position. Brian Thienes still leads in He had about 2 seconds at the end of the last lap. Let's see what it is as he comes underneath us in a moment or two's time. And there he goes. Thienes with a 150.3, 150.6 for Ryan Hardwick, so it's still 1.9 seconds between those two, with Damien Oakey another 2 seconds further back in 3rd. So the AM category in 8th, 9th and 10th overall, and it will be possibly the end of this lap. Just depends how quickly they get round. No, I think they'll have to do one more for the leaders, but some of the guys further back, Jeremy, the pit lane will be open. Not
quite. Well, for the LB Cup contenders, I think it will be. From 11th place on back, I think it might be.
Right.
The others are going to have to do one more lap, and it's certainly going to be interesting to see who elects to come in when. And of the two driver of the cars that have 2 drivers in them, whoever started the race today, the second driver did qualify and will start the race tomorrow. So I really like that switching around, so it's a kind of equal responsibility over the weekend.
Spinelli then just holding that 3.3 second lead. Now, who will blink? We are in the pit window. We are in the pit window, so anybody coming through now could dive into the pits should they want to. I think everyone's going to do at least one more lap. Spinelli's gone through. Hinman's gone through in second. 71.1, 50. Piscopo's gone through. Godovic's gone through. Lewis has gone through.
And I would certainly expect Loris Spinelli to stay out as long as possible.
Agreed.
JC Perez isn't as quick as he is. He's still learning. Just his second year in the sport, he's done a remarkable job to learn so much in such a short period of time. But Loris, even though he's a youngster, I would expect him to stay out longer.
Holbrook's in the pit lane. Shea Holbrook in the pit lane then in the 67 in Arm. Comes in out of 5th position, 14th overall. So that will be the first of the regular pit stops.
Yeah, and that'll be sharing that car with Shea this weekend is Martin Barkey from Canada. He will take over that car for the closing stint in this race.
So now it remains to be seen what happens with Spinelli, Hinman, Piscopo, Godovic and Corey Lewis. Pro-Am and Pro, you must have a teammate.
Yeah.
Am and LP Cup, you can drive solo, but you still have to come into the pit lane. You can't just keep driving around. That would be a massive advantage. As in comes Hinman. So Hinman is in the lane. So as you suspected, Jeremy, Trent will be handing the car over to JC Perez quite early on. This might just take JC out of the scramble in the pit lane. You'll see when he comes to a halt that there will be no dashing about. Perez hops off the wall, heads to the left-hand side, the driver's door. Hinman elegantly gets out of the car. Excuse me, it's Jonathan Cicotto that's getting in to the number 1 car. Cicotto, famous name. 2 and 4 wheels. Also coming in, Brian Thienes, who was leading the AM category before he headed to pit lane. Now it's Ryan Hardwick from Damon Oakey.
Yeah, those three have been very, very closely matched all today. They were close in the 2 qualifying sessions. They were qualified 1-2-3 and 3-2-1.
Yes,
effectively.
Just a slight repressuring of the Pirelli tyres by the mechanics. They'll be looking at the warm pressures as they came onto the pit lane, just checking that they haven't got too high, maybe just bleeding a little bit of air out of them. Out goes the Prestige number 1. Jonathan Cicotto then installed into that. Now this is his time to shine. He needs to get his foot down and do a really good outlap. Hinman did a good in-lap, lost as little time as possible. Corey Lewis has done his fastest lap of the race whilst other people were pitting. Exactly the right thing for Corey Lewis to do in the number 29, that white Lamborghini of Charlotte supported car. The leader goes through, not quite putting a lap then on the now Jonathan Cicotto car, but he's not that far up the road. Exactly what we'd expect to see. Spinelli stays out. In comes Corey Lewis. That's a brilliant, brilliant tactic from the Lamborghini Charlotte machine.
That's a car that won both races at Mid-Ohio. It'll be Madison Snow to take over the wheel of that car.
Not a bad pilot to take over.
No, former champion, of course, in the Porsche One Make Series several years ago. Now the championship leader in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship.
In a Lamborghini, of course, in the GT LM version of the Huracan. And Corey Lewis doing exactly what the team would have asked him to. 2 fastest laps before he came into the pit lane. Madison Snow is installed. They re-torque the wheel, the big wrench for the single wheel nut, the single central lug nut. Torque wrench just to make sure nothing is rattled off. Just give it a little run, set at a preset tension of torque. And what happens is if you push beyond that, it clicks and brakes. And there's plenty of time to do this. This is not the last laps of the Indy 500 or the final pit stop at Le Mans. So there's no need to dash in your pit stop, and that's why there is a mandated pit stop time, so that nobody is rushing around and sending the car out where the driver isn't bolted in. Spinelli comes around to complete lap 14. He's not coming in. He goes to the wall and comes out, and it's going to be very close as to whether he puts a lap on the 29 car. as Madison Snow is leaving the pit lane. And what he doesn't want to do is get caught up behind that 29. No, I think he's far enough ahead as they go through the uphill S's at the start of the 3.4 mile Watkins Glen International Circuit. A couple of laps, Jeremy, before Spinelli needs to come in. But you've got to be a bit careful, because you do not want to get caught with the pit lane closed if there's a safety car.
Fourth place car, Patrick Liddy, brings that car onto pit lane. It'll be Pippa Mann who will resume in the Pro-Am class.
Lovely to have Pippa back. Seeing how much on social media recently that she'd been enjoying her infrequent runs out in this and hoping to get something a little more full-time. And here's the problem for Spinelli. He's caught Madison Snow, who's on his out lap. And Madison still just dialing himself in the car, getting the heat back in the Pirelli tyres after sitting there in the pit lane for a minute and a half. And I reckon Spinelli's got to dive in at the end of this lap before he's held up. Can't afford to lose time. It's a good lap from Spinelli. Not a great lap, but a good lap.
Well, the last two laps have been virtually identical, to just 200ths between them for Spinelli. That's
47
exactly
sixes, yeah. Now coming through turn 10, the left-hander, turn 11's the right-hander that'll take you onto the pit lane. Does he dive into the pits? Does he stay out? He stayed out! He stayed out, and he's sitting behind Madison Snow. Now Madison might just help him here, actually. It's a tough call. He's got to come in next time around, I reckon. I don't think he can risk another lap after that. Who's that coming out of the pits? That's Damien Oakey, I think. He's got a lap down. Was that Mark Barkey? Maybe. Mark Barkey in the 67. My apologies. He's had a penalty, I think, there. So something must have gone awry, because he was in that car a wee while ago. So Spinelli has to come in at the end of this lap. Still leads. Piscopo hasn't stopped either, Jeremy. 9 seconds further back.
No, but the third place car, Alex Popov, has just brought that Hubble racing car into the pits. He will hand over to Bill Hubble, who's again another guy with relatively little experience, who won't be as fast as Alex.
Interesting that some of the drivers take the steering wheel off to help their driver getting in. Some don't. It is a quick release wheel. Spinelli's being held up. He's losing time now behind Madison Snow.
He lost about a second last time around. Held up behind the number 29 car. Madison, of course, just coming out of the pits, so getting up to speed.
This is great news for Jonathan Cicotto in the number 1 Lamborghini, who pitted some time ago. Trent Hinman started that car. So what we're seeing here, it's like the stagger in a 800-metre race or a 400-metre sprint. It doesn't really unwind straight away. In comes the leader. Spinelli is on the lane, hits the pit lane speed limiter, doesn't lock up the Pirelli tyres. He's not going to get those changed. Now JC Perez will be trying to control his breathing, trying to control his excitement. He hops over the wall quite calmly, opens the door as far as possible. Let's get the belt in the right place. Don't sit on the belt.
Number 50 car in also, so that's the entire field now made its way onto pit lane.
Okay. That was the last time they could have done that. They would not have got another lap. Get the belt out the way. You do not want to sit on a belt and have to get out and start the process again. Out goes the 88. Paris Mullins brought that car in. That's the leading LB Cup car. Got as high as 4th position. Piscopo is out of the 50 car. It's all very gentle, very sensible. Now, question for me is, where is Jonathan Cicotto? He's in the 3rd sector. This is going to be a bit tight, Jeremy. Cicotto's been putting in some good laps.
Yeah, but Spinelli turned purple sectors, didn't he, on that in lap? Great in lap, it really was.
Here comes the 1 car towards the end of the lap.
The last couple of laps, so even though the race leader was held up by just a little bit, he was still quicker than the number 1 car.
But there's a change round in the pits, Jeremy. Between the cars that came in, the 50 car is going to get out first. Tyler Proto is out ahead of JC Perez. Now, have they got their numbers right? And here comes, down the main straight, Jonathan Cecotto. Did they get their pit stop times right? That's the question. That will be being looked at. Or was there? It did seem to take an awfully long time to get Perez's belts sorted out. And the 10's got a penalty. Speeding in the pit lane. 21 miles an hour over. That's a stop plus 20 seconds. And that will take Hubble out of any opportunity for the Pro-Am lead. He was trying to chase down Perez. He would have had a tough job doing that anyway.
The AM class battle is rejoined. Brian Thinas will still lead, but Damon Oakey has got past Ryan Hardwick during those pit stops, and they're now battling about 4 seconds behind Brian Thinas.
And all of those 3 drivers driving solo. Now, what's happened here? Perez has lost time to Tyler Proto, trying to get past the number 7. That's the 3rd LB Cup runner at the moment. That's the Monk car. Oh dear. 09, Damien Oakey in his haste. Turn 8, warning for track limits.
Yeah, he's under pressure now from Ryan Hardwick.
Perez lost time there behind the 7, putting a lap on that car, and all of a sudden he's going to find himself in arrears by a decent margin. Jonathan Cecotto is not that far behind. Across the line then to complete lap 17 with just under 18 laps to go in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Race 1 of 2 at Watkins Glen. Tyler Proto leads now by 3.5 seconds. He's turned around almost a 9-second deficit into a 3.5 second lead during the pit stops. Perez in second in the 71. 3rd, Jonathan Cecotto, but he's got Shinya Mishimi right in his wheel tracks at the moment, less than a second behind.
The birthday boy, 25-year-old today, is Shinya Mishimi, and the champion in this championship 2 years ago. Still in with a shout here, not out of it by any means.
And by the way, I shouldn't have second-guessed myself. The pit speed violation was in kilometres per hour, not in miles per hour. My apologies for that. 21 miles an hour would have been bonkers. We would have seen that from here and heard it. 21 kilometres an hour is still quite quick. It's still a 3rd quicker than you should be going. So Proto then needs to keep his head now. There is radio communication, so the team will be talking to him, just letting him know everything's fine, just hit your marks. Meantime, in 3rd position, Jonathan Cecotto, 3.3 seconds behind Perez. That's just under 7 seconds away from the lead, but Mishimi is coming and coming quickly. The 46 car. Not quick through the trap last time around, fully 6 miles an hour slower than the 3 cars ahead. But Mishimi is making up for it with his commitment in the corners. Brian Thinas in the red and white and blue 17 leads the AM category. He's in 6th position. Oakey 4.5 seconds further back. And Ryan Hardwick and Oakey are having a cracking scrap at the moment, the 09 and the 2.
Mishimi lost a lot of ground on that, on somewhere around that lap. He was in the middle sector, second and third, first and second sector.
Well, his trap speed was way down.
Yeah, it could have been maybe he was getting past a slower car. There was a little bit of lap traffic, I think, and it might have just got in the way a little bit, cost him a little bit of ground. So he's now fallen 3 or 4 seconds behind Jonathan Cecotto.
Having been less than a second behind, yeah, absolutely. Ryan Hardwick in that Miami blue and black. Number 2 goes across the start line ahead of him. The faded blue, really great colour schemes on these cars with the bright lemon stripes. That's his immediate target, and that is Damien Oakey. in the 0-9, and they are battling for second place in the AM category. 4 seconds further up the road, Brian Thienes leads it in the 1-7 car. Meantime, bit of lappery going on as Madison Snow comes up to the LB Cup 3rd position, number 7 car. Madison will want to deal with that car immediately.
Yeah, it's Sheena Monk who's not
leaves room on the inside.
Yeah, she does, good job.
Yeah, very good. That perfect piece of driving. You know, we talk about the IMSA development series, Jeremy, learning how to be passed without ruining your lap, without going too far offline. As a slower driver, you're always told, stick to the racing line, let the faster car go through. That's what the race director will tell you. But if you can help the faster driver without completely nosing up your lap, then you do that. Head of the field, still Tyler Proto ahead of JC Perez. Fastest lap of the race for the 46 car, for that car. Shinji Mishimi with a 48.0. That's more like it. And all of a sudden, whatever the ails were, and now he's got the fastest first sector of anybody. Mishimi, who won this championship 2 years ago, has turned it up to 11. The 4th place car, the number 46, trying to close in on Jonathan Cicotto and move away from the white number 29 that's heading around turn 5 now.
Yeah, he's got about 9 seconds to make up over the race leader, but it's, yeah, Sean Machimi. Yeah, he's kind of known as Sean as well.
Okay. Can we call him Sean?
We can call him Sean.
Right.
But say birthday boy here, so he's got the bit between his teeth now. He was out of the sport pretty much all of last year. He didn't drive anything at all. Made his comeback at Mid-Ohio. It was a good comeback too, and he would love to get a good strong result this weekend.
This is going to be a 47 from Mishimi, and that's the fastest lap we've seen for some time if he doesn't get any traffic. The dark red and gloss black number 46 coming through to the end of the lap now, and all of a sudden Mishimi looks like he's driving himself into contention here. Might have a chance of a podium spot at the front of the field. Cicotto doing a 48.8 last time around. What does Mishimi do? A 47.7 and a 49.0. So that's a big turnaround. Cicotto 49.0, 47.7 for Mishimi. A huge turnaround, and the gap is suddenly under 2 seconds, having been nearly 5 not so long ago. And second place, JC Perez, just warned for track limits at turn 8. Oh my goodness me, they'll need to be on the phone to him, telling him you can't afford a problem. And Cicotto has been terribly held up, and now he's under pressure. The 1.7 seconds at the line is now 1.7 car lengths going round turn number 5 and heading downhill through the chute to turn 6. Mishimi is coming like a steam train. This is like a scene from a Jerry Bruckheimer movie. He's just got something else in that car. He's changed up to 147th gear, and he's just pulling along.
And there's still 11 minutes remaining in this race, so it's going to be a good 6 or maybe even 7 laps to go. So there's plenty of time for Shinya Machimi to not only get onto the podium, but to perhaps bet a good bit better than that.
How quick can he get past Jonathan Cicotto? If he can, yes. Cicotto's going very defensive very early along the straight to turn number 8, the heel of the boot. Now, if he can get past him early, it's only 2 seconds up the road to JC Perez. 6 seconds, 6.5, let's say, separating the top 4 cars, and 3rd and 4th are battling together. Cicotto's picked up his pace again. Mishimi with a 47.7 last time around. The leader goes across the line, and we've got the top 4 all on the start-finish line at the same time. Start-finish straight at the same time. Proto goes through. 48.5, 49.3 for Perez. He's dropping back. Cicotto, 50.5. That was an awful lap for Jonathan Cicotto, and a 49.1 because Mishimi couldn't get past him, and that is going to cause him worries.
Yeah, that's held up the both of them there. Both of them lost ground to Perez, and Taylor Proto now is getting into the swing of it. That was his best lap of the race since taking over the number 50 car from Eduardo Piscopo. His previous 3 laps were 48.6, well 49.5, 48.6, 49.3, just turning to 48.5 last time around, so a little bit inconsistent for Taylor Proto, but for one who is very inexperienced still in this sport, again he is just in his second year of racing, so he's still got an awful lot to learn.
This has been a bit of a strange experience for Shinji Mishimi. The car in front is the #1 prestige car, with which of course he won the championship, at least that number and that team.
Yeah.
2 years ago, that was him en route to the championship. Under 10 minutes to go. 0.4 of a second between these two guys at the last timing line, but time is not important here. It's about distance and how quickly Mishimi can possibly get past Chicotto. Proto at the head of the field, 48.5 last time around, but nearly 5 seconds of a lead on Perez. Yeah. Proto's doing a cracking job at the head of the field in that number 50, and that was all down to a little bit of a fumbled pit stop for the 71 crew. That was where it changed over. 8.8 seconds when they came into the pit lane. That was the gap, and he turned that round into a 3.5 second lead as they went out. And now it's 4.8 seconds. Perez in second place. Yeah, top four doing relatively similar times last time around. 48.4 for Madison Snow is that car's best time. That's the 29 in 5th position, but 8 seconds away from the cars he's chasing. But dive in the inside, Ryan Hardwick still having a look at Damien Oakey. Brian Thienes, by the way. Thienes has got back at the head of the after the pit stops.
And that gap has stabilised from first to second, this battle for second and third in AM that we're watching on screen right now, because it was about 4 seconds, it's now down to about 3, but it has stabilised over the last few laps, and Brian Thienes has just turned his best final sector time, and he's stretched that out again to 4 seconds on this last lap. That gap battle for first and second and third in AM.
The red and white number 17 through the top of the S's. Well, it's not 4 seconds now. It's nowhere near 4 seconds now. I think Thienes made a little mistake going through turn number 1. It's a good gap, but it's not 4.8 seconds when he went across the line. It's about, I reckon that's about 3 seconds now. 3.5 maybe. 11 floor, different parts of the circuit obviously. Just watching these lap times, see if anybody falls off a cliff, makes a mistake. Last 7 minutes. Tired, concentration going, and that's exactly what's just happened for Ryan Hardwick, who missed his braking point into turn 6. Fortunately, the layout of that corner means you can go wide into it, but he dragged it back to the apex and got on the power early, so he hasn't lost too much time. There'll be 1 or 2 people struggling for concentration, struggling for fitness. Perhaps they've overheated the Pirelli tyres as well. They might be struggling for a bit of grip. 1 or 2 drivers that need to be introduced to the apex of the corner, because they're not troubling them at the moment. Car just not doing what they want them to do.
Race leader Taylor Proto, now he's found that consistency that he needs. His last 3 laps all within around about 1/10 of a second of each other. That's absolutely excellent for somebody driving a car as potent as this in just his second season racing. Done a lot of preparation over the winter, a lot of testing, but this is a really fine performance, and you know, he's stepped up into the pro category this season along with a former series champion in Eduardo Piscopo. But I tell you what, he's done a really, really fine job. He did it Mid-Ohio too. They came away with a win in the they third place finish, a third and a fourth at Mid-Ohio, so looking now potentially at his first win for Taylor Proto.
And you know, Taylor's had the pressure since he got in the car, Jeremy, because he was out in the lead.
Yeah.
And you know,
that's to lose at that stage.
Exactly.
Right. Yes.
I'd far rather be chasing than, oh, by the way, that was the leader that you've just got out of the pits ahead of, and on you go. You've got 25 minutes, mate. Crack on. 5 minutes to go. 2 laps after this one. It will be, I think, a 26 lap race in that case. Through goes Perez. Chicotto and Mishimi across the line now. 5 seconds first to second, 4 seconds second to third, half a second third to fourth.
Yes.
Mishimi will be cursing his luck that he's come up against Jonathan Chicotto, who is defending stoutly. Nothing wrong with what Chicotto's doing. He's picking his line, he's sticking to it, but it is a defensive line, and there's no doubt in my mind, Jeremy, that it has slowed Mishimi up.
Yeah, no question about that, absolutely. But he's driving beautifully. Chicotto, as you say, he's not being overly defensive. He's just put in the car where there's no way for Shinya Mishima to find a way past him. So he's doing exactly what he should do at this stage, driving absolutely beautifully, nice, pretty consistently and fast enough so that there's no way past yet for Mishimi. But he's having to defend down there into the ankle, isn't he?
Yes, all he's doing, Jeremy, is coming from half a car's width closer to the centre of the road rather than being right on the white line before he turns in. And that's barely moving his line. He's doing it nice and early. As soon as he comes off the previous corner, it's not like he's reacting to Mishimi behind him. But what that does is makes the corner, each corner, a little bit tighter. And that means he can take a little less speed through the corner, which means exactly the same for Mishimi. Even if Mishimi takes the ideal line in the corner, he can't just drive over the car in front of him, and that's why their lap times have just gone out half a second to a second. Mishimi was storming along, and then he wasn't. Got up to the back of Chicotto very quickly, courtesy of a 50, a 1 minute 50. They're doing 48.9s now. Madison Snow 48.2 last time around. I don't think there's enough time for Madison to put any pressure on the two guys ahead. Oh, there might be one more lap after this,
yes,
actually.
It will, yeah.
Yeah, I'll admit, I've led you astray, dear Lamborghini fans. This will be a 27-lap race. Still the battle going on between Damien Oki in second position, and he's been passed. Hardwick's gone through. Hardwick has gone through, and that's a change of position. The 2 is ahead of the 0.9. That's happened somewhere around the far side of the circuit, but that is Ryan Hardwick then in the number 2 car, up into second position and 7th overall, confirmed as they cross the line underneath us at the end of their lap 25.
Now, can Ryan Hardwick chase down Brian Thienes? There's about 2.7 seconds between them. He's now up into second place, is Hardwick, who's seen his speed. We saw it at Mid-Ohio in the first rounds of the championship. He's fast, and he's going to try and track down Brian Thienes now. A couple of laps to do so.
Spot on, 2 minutes to go. The end of this one, and the next lap for Tyler Proto, who leads in the number 50 by 5 seconds. Keep it cool, Tyler. All you've got to do is bring it home now. JC Perez has a 4-second gap to the chasing Chicotto and Mishimi in third and fourth. 50 leads, 71 seconds. Oh, white flag's gone out. Yes, that's right. White flag has gone out. It will be a 27-lap race. The 50 car got held up just slightly. So Tyler Proto just got slightly caught out there. Wasn't expecting the shot that I saw. But Proto leads. .6 seconds. He was slightly held up at the end of that last lap. Tyler Proto. Taylor Proto, excuse me.
Hey, look, we've got a battle. It's game on now in Am, because all of a sudden Brian Thienes has got his mirrors filled with Ryan Hardwick, who's just had his best lap of the race. He pulled in a whole 2 seconds on that last go around onto the white flag lap.
Oh, off right in front of the leaders as they're coming round to the end of the lap, I think, but it's not one of the leading cars. Meantime, Mishimi was right on the tailpipes of Chicotto. Chicotto's in third. So who was that went off?
That's right. That's the order that we have been.
Mashimi in fourth. Yep, that's right. But they were absolutely together. Here comes Taylor Proto to take the win. Proto and Piscopo won in Pro-Am here last year on their way to the Pro-Am Championship, and they take the win here again. Back-to-back wins, different championships for them. Cyber Mashimi's got through! Mashimi's got through, and Cecotto is off the podium. Last two corners, Perez goes through in second, but Mashimi has pipped Jonathan Cecotto in a cracking run to the flag. There was one of the lapped cars in there as well, which I think was the 66 car.
Yep.
And that might have been a factor, but Mashimi needing no second opportunity or invitation. 17, Thienes and Hardwick together coming out. They've got two corners to go. Now, as Hardwick, Ryan Hardwick then, has he got anything? I don't think so. Thienes is going to hang on to this, a perfectly judged drive.
Teammates at US Racetronics.
Yes, this could be could have been a difficult conversation in the debrief. Thienes takes it very easy out the last corner, doesn't have to push too hard, and will take the AM category in 6th overall from Hardwick. It's half a second at the line. Damien Oakey fading away in that last quarter of the race, having been in second place. He'll come home 9 seconds further back from the battling pair at the head of the field. Good respect from both of those guys. LB Cup, that is going to be the 88, is it? Yes, it is. 9th position, good finish there. Inside the top 10 for the LB Cup winner.
Yeah, that keeps their perfect record for US Racetronics. Is Mark Proto there? What a great day for the Protos. Taylor Proto leads. Dad Mark wins the LB Cup category in that 9th position overall.
Yeah, well, they've got another race tomorrow. Otherwise, I think the celebrations may have been mighty. So, Taylor Proto wins it with Eduardo Piscopo. Their best lap of 47.6, but it's not about speed, it's about consistency, and the pit stop was what won it for them. Turned round a deficit in the pit stop. We haven't heard of any issues with the pit stop time, so we can only assume that it's all fine. JC Perez taking over from his teammate. Second position for the 71 car. Oh. Now the timing screen has just swapped the first two around by 2.5 seconds. So, without the benefit of anything on the timing screen to tell me, I can only assume there was a problem with the pit stop of the 50 and they've been assessed a time penalty, which has not been shown on the timing screen, so I apologise. We're only working with the information that we've been given. But at the end of the race, I can tell you that the first two have been turned around by 2.5 seconds. Cecotto shown in third, ahead of Mashimi. Have they gone back a lap?
No, 27 laps.
So Mashimi must have been assessed a penalty, pit stop penalty as well, unless there's been some other penalties. I can't give you any more information because I simply don't know, and I apologise for that.
Yeah, I mean, there was almost 5 seconds between first and second as they crossed the line. All of a sudden now, the scoring shows a 2.5 second deficit the other way around. So
and Cecotto only a second away from second place. There has been some timing adjustments made post the checkered flag, which we have not been party to, for which I apologise for not being able to give you the information. So a little bit of confusion and chaos at the end of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series, but the win on the screen, the timing screen at least, given to the 71 team.
Oh, wait a minute. I was going to say that none of the class winners have changed, because the first two, number 71, which is the Pro-Am class winner, JC Perez and Laura Spinelli, they still win the Pro-Am class.
Yeah.
And Taylor Proto and Eduardo Piscopo will still maintain the win in the Pro class. However, looking further down the order,
Ryan Hardwick wins the AM.
Is shown ahead of Brian Thienes. Which
Pit
is
stop
not
penalties.
the way,
we are just having it confirmed.
what a shame we're
Pit
doing it
stop
now.
penalties Could have done with seeing that on the screen beforehand. So the 71 car with the 50 car having been assessed a penalty. Now, the other thing is, what I don't know, Jeremy, and this is speculation. Did the 71 team know that they were effectively leading the race, and therefore did the 50 team? Could Taylor Proto have pushed harder and maintained his lead, having been given some kind of penalty? We just don't know that, and we can't know that. If it hasn't gone on the team, did the team know that?
Yeah.
If it hasn't gone on the screen, I just simply don't know.
There was certainly no information
Negative.
from.
I now feel rather stupid having said, well, they won it in the pit lane. We didn't see any notification of a pit lane penalty, but that's exactly what happened, and nobody's been advised of it via the timing screen. So a little bit of confusion and chaos at the end of the race. The Pro-Am is won by the 71, that hasn't changed. The Pros run by the 50, that hasn't changed, but they have been turned around on the overall. But there is a change in Am, where the number 2 has usurped the 17. Hardwick wins it from Thenis, LB Cup to the 88 car. Another race here at Watkins Glen International tomorrow. By then, we might have a result that we can believe in. From Jeremy and me, thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.